Hello gamers, welcome back to another free-to-play Ultimate Iron Man Progress video. Before we begin, I'll go through all the GZs like I usually do. Only one stealing party that I actually was able to go to these past couple months, that was Halcyon Seed's 200 mil defense party, GZ. So we haven't had a ton of stealing parties that I've been able to make it to recently, so I figured I would do kind of like a solo style, just like go through a bunch of the achievements that I've seen on the Discords and get some shoutouts where I think they're due. So yeah, first of all, actual horn, 399s crafting, strength, and attack. Beast gamer, definitely up and comer. Keep an eye out for this guy. Fanfare 2 with 1k ep. If any of you know who Fanfare is and the account that he plays, you know like how actually insane this achievement is. He's like a very restricted 10 HP no gather skill account. So all of his methods are super crazy. He's probably got like at least 5 times this much account time played. Beast Gamer. Then we got Triprotic, 99 ranged, another beast. He's at like Greater Demons or something. Very cool spot for it, I guess. I will not judge. Big one right here, Jambo getting 200 mil defense, being one of the few free-to-play Iron Men to have a 200 mil. And he's got the loot shown here from flesh crawlers. I won't judge. Looks like a lot of gems, so looks like he's pretty good. It's pretty set up for runecrafting. We've got Moist Crisp, strength level 99 at the red spiders, probably just of how patched fleshies have been recently. It's crazy to even see 3 people at the spiders here, but it looks like he's cooking. We got safe to play alt, 20 mil woodcutting, good skill, good guy, just beast overall. Then we got Wiselcat maxing out the collection log for Camdozel. And by maxing out, I mean 250 of each of the items you can get here. All of the Baronite pieces, all of the smithing pieces. Just kind of a crazy setup, I guess. Crazy goal, but awesome, dude. Beast gamer right here for sure. We got Suck on this 4. 99 runecrafting on the free-to-play iron. Very beast gamer. These guys don't come around too often. Definitely don't see this achievement too much. But yeah, awesome dude. Good luck with the prayer grind. I'm racing in the match, but you're probably gonna beat me. Got another huge achievement right here. This is free to play one skill at a time, getting his 6th 99, that being in defense. And it looks like he just completed the Knight's Sword, so it looks like smithing is on the mind next. Luck. Got Vivada here with 80 prayer and also base 80s on the accounts. And you'd love to see Boneyard. You'd love to see the tiles marked for the no hot method. Glad I could help you out with that. We got Dominance 10th, 20 mil mining, good skill, beast gamer. Now this video isn't just a glaze for Freckled Dad, but gotta shout him out, of course. Couple of big achievements here. First, the big one, getting onto the top page of combined high scores, meaning that he's passed the EHP amount for 200 milal on a Reddit account. Just passed Lynx Titan there. Huge gains from him. We'll talk about these more later. But yeah, I mean, 200 mil ranged, 2 bill free to play XP, the ranked 1 free to play EHP year, passing 5 ent, and pretty much every range record that you can get in this game is now his. Bar Canal, 200 mil crafting, Beast, another 200 mil, keep going. DJ9, 10k free to play app, massive 5-digit gang. I'm not in 5-digit gang, so I hope to be there one day, but overall, congrats, Beast. Orange Sea, 100 mil hit points. I think hit points is the slowest free to play skill for regs, if I'm not mistaken, so always a good one to see, you know, getting through the combat grind. 30, 99, 30, getting 99 hit points, and I believe maxing his build, that being 30 attack, 30 defense, 99 strength. I'm not sure what his range is or not, actually. But overall, beast. Congrats, dude. Sorry I missed the party. Squeezy, 99 range, at the Minotaurs, being efficient for the hardcore. I guess I think they're hard. Maybe. Beast regardless, though. I'd love to see the Minotaur grind. Tisan War, two big ones, 99 Magic and 90 Prayer, giving them base 90s on the combat only account. Awesome achievement. Keep going with that. Dying Liberty, 99 Mining, Beast, looking good in the full gilded. AO Jump, 99 Crafting on the UIM. Beast Gamer, Beast Up and Comer UIM. Definitely keep an eye out for this guy. And then final one, Teddy Feces finishing off 99 Fishing to match the level 3 free-to-play Ultimate Iron Man. I think this makes them the fourth free-to-play matched level 3, and the third match level 3 UIM after mid-level Stela and UI Pain. I think Pauzor is the other level 3, the Grey Helm. So yeah, awesome achievements, everyone. Keep up the gains. So before I get into it, I also want to go over the situation regarding the free-to-play wiki. So most of us over the past couple months who have tried to update ourselves on the wiki, we've noticed that a lot of people are missing from the site, or it's falsely marking you as pay-to-play. So the whole situation that's going on with this is that the current owner of the free-to-play wiki, say free-to-play alt, is stepping down as sort of the project lead for that site. So what this means is that the site is probably not going to be updated anymore, which means that it's probably not going to be fixed for any of us that are falsely marked as pay-to-play, myself included in that list. This is kind of just part of the whole problem with how the site was written. It uses a lot of like older software and like older language, I guess. I'm not an expert, so don't ask me too much about it. But pretty much the site really can't be updated anymore because of some of this like unsupported like old software. At least that's the story of how I understand it. So yeah, please stop reaching out to me. I do not run the wiki, and don't expect the wiki to be updated anytime soon. It's probably not going to unless the site gets like rewritten from scratch. And so far, no one's really stepped up to like want to do that. But if anyone's interested in ever taking on a project like that, I know how much the wiki has meant to all of us free-to players, myself included. So yeah, that's the situation. If you're wondering why exactly people are marked as pay-to-play, it's because every time a new boss gets added to Old School, the IDs for the boss on the like OSRS high scores, they get like bumped down based on like alphabetical order. So like a new boss got added, the Obor ID was like bumped down one, and so when like the wiki searches for like players on the high score, they see that you have the wrong boss ID. So like what it thinks is Obor KC is actually some like pay to play boss that it's like detecting falsely. So yeah, that's not going to get fixed until the site gets like fully fixed. So yeah, that's the situation pretty much. So last video, if you remember, I had just finished up 99 Prayer, which means that I had sort of finally reached the last runecrafting grind, that being the grind to 99. So if you remember from a couple videos back, I had talked about like an original plan where I was going to do prayer for a hop limit, and then I was going to switch to earth rune crafting so that by the time I finished prayer, I would have a good chunk of rune crafting out of the way. So obviously, as you can see, that didn't end up happening, which means that I am sort of stuck in this final, 7 levels or so, 92 to 99 of rune crafting. And so because I'm doing it this way, I figured the best bet was going to be with Minotaurs and then doing body runes. That was going to be kind of the most efficient way to do this process. If I just wanted runecrafting XP, Earths are a little bit faster. But the nice thing about doing Minotaurs is that for only like an extra 100 hours of grinding, I'm going to be getting a ton of like range XP, hit point HP, I'll be getting a decent amount of crafting XP from all the uncut gems. And then ultimately, I think the body runes is just like a bit nicer of a method. Like especially when you're two-ticking, you don't have to like path to the portal within the Essence Mine. The Scroll Scepter is like a really easy way to get around, and like when you Scepter Telly, you're pretty much like a one click to the altar, as opposed to when you exit the Earth. Sorry, when you exit the Essence Mine, you have to do like 2 or 3 clicks up to the Earth altar. So yeah, this is the method I sort of kind of locked myself into, which is fine. This isn't a bad method. I mean, I'm already starting off at 92, so I've done half this grind already. But yeah, so plan from there was to do sort of a one level at a time situation. That being kill the Minotaurs for each runecrafting level, and then once I get the supplies, I would, do the noted essence method with the two-tick essence mining, and then once I ran out of noted essence, I would drop the axe, and I would just sort of AFK the body runes with the rune pickaxe. And this was going to be like the plan all the way through, but things got thrown out of whack a little bit when I signed up for this year's fantasy competition. Okay, so since my team's participation in fantasy has ended, I figured this is a good time to kind of do the big fantasy in review, at least from my own perspective and the perspective of my own team. So yeah, I think I'll actually just like start off with my team and with the draft. Um, Actually, just even before that, let me explain what fantasy is. So essentially, fantasy is a multi-week EHP competition that essentially divides players up into teams, where each team has a pool of players to choose from, and they play certain players every week, similar to how you do fantasy football, for instance. And each of those teams goes for the win. So you have your regular season and your playoffs. The regular season, your team needs a certain amount of wins, and if they get that number of wins, they make playoffs. And then the playoffs is sort of just a single elimination tournament to determine the win. So, pretty basic overview. It's pretty much just like several week-long competitions. Play your heart out, see if you can beat the other team, and move on from there. So I'll let you get into the draft. Utism hosted the entire event, and he also hosted the draft on his Twitch. So, kind of hard to see all the names here, but I'll show them later. Essentially, I was drafted into the Dionor Goon Squad. This is the one on the right. I was a 4th-round pick, which I'm actually pretty happy with. I'm happy that DJ9, my captain, ranked me so high on his team, especially compared to some of the other people that were in fantasy. So I'll just explain the story, I guess, like from the whole start of it. So originally, I had known that fantasy was going to be happening really since Utism first mentioned that he was thinking about hosting it this year. There hadn't been a fantasy competition since like 2020, I think. So this is like a 5-year hiatus that it took. So a lot of people who are in the Stone community who have never played one of these before didn't quite know how it was going to go. Um, but I ended up signing up last minute, mostly because they were trying to make sure that each team had at least 9 people, I believe, maybe 10 people. And they only needed like a couple slots left, and so I figured, okay, like usually my summers are pretty busy with like traveling and work and other things, but I figured I would have a couple weeks to put in some big numbers, so I ended up signing up. So if people are interested in like the story of the Donor Goon Squad, so it's funny. It starts off with uh, not even DJ captaining the comp. There's actually a different individual who was going to captain the Goon Squad. He ended up not doing that, and so DJ was actually brought on as like a last minute captain, which is kind of funny because DJ now is a free to player. He's not someone who I've associated much with like the rest of the high level, like especially the competition community. But he was an awesome captain, and I'll get to that later. But it's funny. So a couple of us knew that DJ probably didn't have the most experience with like who was going to be a good pick and who wasn't, because this was like a draft style, picking each team. So a couple of us actually threw together sort of a fun spreadsheet. It ended up getting a little overcome with a lot of different people typing on it. But pretty much, some of us put the effort in of like kind of explaining, okay, like for all the people who are signing up, who are going to be the really big players, like the high seeded ones, who are going to be the low seeded ones, what's kind of everyone's situation. Because when it comes to like a long term competition like this, there's really two types of players that you're looking. There's your like high level players. These are the ones that are going to be like they're going to be playing every single week, maybe taking only like 1 or 2 weeks off. And generally, like these aren't going to be the people that do like a 140 every single week. These are going to be the people that do like at least like a 100 or like a 110, like consistently over the course of 2 months. And then the other type of player is the one that isn't going to be drafted every week, but the weeks that they are going to be in, they are going to be doing a big number, like a 130, 140. And so, yeah, that was sort of like the lineup that we had kind of put together. Now that I'm taking credit, I just don't necessarily want to say like the exact people who wrote this, just in case some hard feelings. But I don't think there were any hard feelings in this. This was like a pretty actually. I think this is like a pretty like good take on like a lot of these players and like, how they've done in previous competitions that we've all played in, and how we think they might do in a competition like this. Again, this is like a very new style to us. Most of us are used to like competitions that they're a week at most and then they're done. Not something that's like multi-week, uh, like constantly playing for like a really long time. And so yeah, getting into the draft, I'll at least talk about the Goon Squad. So Jaduzu was actually the first round pick of the entire draft. This is because DJ9 won I think it was that they spun a wheel or something, and so he got the actual first pick of the whole draft. So picked Jaduzu, which honestly I thought that was a good pitch. Jaduzu was coming off of like a huge mining month. This was someone that looks like they were going to be doing like 120s every week forever. So I think it was a very good pick at the time. Um, to pitch Jaduzu as ranked one, and honestly, like he performed, so like definitely did on him. A couple of the high round picks, like Azula was a really good pitch. Chiri was a really good pick at the time. She had just come off of like a huge woodcutting month. Also doing some big hours. Other known beasts, Necromage, Halcyon. Then we got Fincher, who I'm in a Discord with Fincher, and I know he's a beast guy. Keep in mind actually that like I didn't know I was gonna be picked, so like I had no coordination with DJ throughout like any of this process really. So this is just like live watching the live stream what I thought about things. But yeah, so a couple other beasts, Spooky, who he wasn't at the time, but he's now like Solus leadership. Pretty well known. He'd done some big numbers in some other comps. I was picked fourth round, which means that I was picked kind of like on the assessment that I would do as well as people like Unreal and Turnt, Ben, and like just a bunch of this kind of like middle of the crowd area. Which I was a little surprised I was picked so highly, to be honest. Mostly because like I knew that I wasn't gonna have a lot of weeks that I could really play the full week. Part of that problem being that like just like with the scheduling of vacations, like if I go from like a weekend to weekend trip, then that's like 2 or 3 comps that I'm like 2 or 3 week long sessions of the fantasy that I'm like kind of getting into, which means that there are a lot of weeks that like I would have signed up potentially, but like I was only missing like a day or two, and like if it was a close round, I didn't want that to be the difference. But I'll get into that later. So yeah, then we chose Faye Poppy, who it's funny, a lot of people kind of clowned on Faye Poppy because he's never really done like a huge week before this, but he's a very consistent player. So like kind of what I was talking about, like you're either consistently doing like a decent number or you're sometimes doing a big number. I thought he was actually going to be a good pick for like that, like constant like high number, every week. Help us, Bob. It was kind of funny that we got like both of the free to play Iron Men in this competition, and then some other gamers, Buff Boobies, who like nobody knew about Buff Boobies before the Solus Summer Comp, but he kind of popped off for that, which is really cool. and then a couple others like Wild Low and Scarf, also some like good players. And so yeah, I like coming out of the draft. I thought our team was actually pretty good, and DJ definitely had some confidence as well. You'll see in some of those like early videos that Malik put out as the like Ministry of Propaganda. Um, right from the start, we were not ranked very high. There are actually several people who ranked us as like the last place team based off of this draft, which I don't know how I feel totally about that. I thought we had a pretty good draft coming out of things. I thought like that we had a decent team. We were all like pretty active in the team Discord like almost right away. So anyway, getting into the actual overview of fantasy. So I'll kind of take you through our season, the first 6 7 weeks, however many there were. I think there were 7 weeks, and then we did make it to playoffs, but I'll talk about it in a second. So pretty much right away, disaster sort of struck our team. That was because like 3 days before fantasy started, before week 1 started, um, we actually lost Help Us Bob. And that was because he got caught in like some false ban. He actually got caught on the same day in a false ban as Orange C, which is like just like kind of a crazy overall like free to play thing. Zoom in a bit so you can see it better. So like Help Us Bob, he was one of those players that similar to me, he could not play every week, just because like IRL, but he was definitely going to be one of our like when he had him in, he was going to do big numbers, and those big ones were week 1 and week 2. And so not having him for his biggest weeks definitely threw a wrench in our plans. We still started off decently strong. We played week 1 pretty much through to the end. I think we only gave up on like the very last day. Um, but yeah, Shitlows ended up pulling ahead of us by only 10 ep. I honestly think that if we had Help Us Bob still on the team, I think that this could have changed because I think so. Like he probably would have replaced Spooky. Just Spooky was brought in last minute, I think, for week 1, and if it was as close as it was, I think some of us might not have given up as we did on like the last day. But even still, I mean, like coming out of the gate, like Duduzu, like almost a 140, Fincher 135, like pretty big numbers. Faye Poppy, like a lot of people said that Faye Poppy would never do more than 100 for a comp, and like week 1 out of the gate with a 120 practically. So I mean, like the Shitlows are just a really good team. There's actually a good chance they're gonna win this whole thing. I'll talk about that later, but I genuinely think that if Help Us Bob didn't get false banned, that we could have won. But yeah, so anyway, we started off the season with a loss. Not a big deal. Um, you know, half the people are gonna win, half the people are gonna lose week 1. So we ended up, we took it in stride, and we gave up early, or not early. We gave up in the last like day because the second week, each week of this regular season happens right on top of each other. So for like everyone who's sleep deprived to do like a big number, they want to get a little bit of rest at least before going into week 2. And so getting into week 2, we played the Botany Bay Plunderers. This was a really close one. We actually did play this one all the way through to the end. So this is like another example, I think. If we had Help Us Bob, I think the results of this would have changed. Um, losing one of our like Help Us Bob said that week 1 and week 2 were going to be his weeks to do big, and unfortunately, since we still didn't have him back by this point, had to throw in Spooky again. So yeah, we played decently well. Scarf like went nuclear. Scarf was like the last round pick, and he ended up like doing phenomenally, doing a 130. This is like one of his first comps ever as well. So awesome to see there. Fincher and Kaduzu, they were coming off of like a really big week for, so I think it's very understandable that they didn't also do like 140 again. I mean, the Plunders are the same way. Like a lot of these guys had also just done a huge week for week 1, so yeah, overall like 120s from their team, in the teens for us. Yeah, just like we tried our best. This we actually did play it all the way to the end. Like whole comp, we were up a bit because I think Mage slept like the whole first day of this one, but they just clawed their way back, and the draft just like very slowly came together. I should probably even like pull up the draft. Yeah, like together the whole time. We're the yellow one, I think. Yeah, we're the yellow one. So we're up a bit at the beginning. We have a nice little bit of lead like day two, and then they just slowly creep up on us, and then literally the last 6 hour, they pass us by 1.5, 1.52. So this was a tough loss. Definitely a bit demoralizing for the team for sure. Uh, but yeah, so 0-2. It hurt as well because a lot of people said that we were gonna be the worst team, and honestly, like we still did good. Like for each of these weeks, we were not like at the bottom of like just like every team's play style, or how many hours that everybody did across the comp. But we did lose, so top one. Week 3 and 4, these weeks were sort of our throw weeks. This was mostly just because people were busy. I was still out of town, so I couldn't be back. I think Helpless Bob had been unbanned by this point, but he also had some like IRL travel he was doing. And so these 2 weeks were really just like, okay, we'll do our intro sets, we'll still how we're feeling. But if the other team is like really playing it all, then there's just no chance. And that's sort of what happened. We played the Fiends first, week 3. They had a much better start than we did, I think. Should pull up the draft. Yeah, like instantly clear that they were going to be beating us. So we pretty much gave up and just did like a normal, decent week. They sort of followed us the same, which is why we both kind of flattened out towards the end. Really, same thing with week 4 up against the Butchers. I mean, Azula just like went nuclear for this whole fantasy. Honestly, good on them. Like such a good player, definitely deserving of like the rank 2 spot. But yeah, same thing with this one. We just didn't have the people and the schedule to like really go hard. Plus, like we were, I think part of the reason we didn't go hard as well is because the Butchers at the time were like the ranked 1 seeded team. They were just like dominating. We knew that like there was no point in us going hard, so we decided to chill. I will say as well that this was like the last week that I was going to be on vacation, so I was like sort of hyping up the team, saying like, "Hey, like next week I am going to be back. I plan on going really hard against the Trap House. Like, let's rest up." And so I think that's what a lot of people did. I mean, Starf, he was doing another week, so he wanted to go big, but like Fincher, Duduzu, even Poppy, like we all sort of mellowed out. We knew that we weren't taking this one, so no point in exhausting ourselves for the next week. And then I come back for week 5 against our first matchup against the Trap House. We end up playing them 2 weeks in a row. And so this week I was actually pretty proud of. I had a really good start to this comp, and I really played through like the whole way through. At least until the Trap House had given up, which I think was like week 4. Pull the draft up. Yeah, so pretty much, we sort of knew that like, hey, like we're 0-4 in this competition so far. We need to get a win. And I'm finally back. I'm feeling good. The Trap House, like I'm in a Discord with some of the people on their team, and they had talked about how they were pretty exhausted. They were coming off some like really big weeks, and I figured that like if there was a time for the Goons to get their first win, it's going to be week 4. So just like start of the comp, we were going really well. We got a nice early lead, pretty early on in the comp, like in the first day. I think even our intro sits is, I think one of them, somebody like missed like part of the intro 6, so they only had like an intro 3 or something. But yeah, really good start. I was on a 140 pace, which like I finally like this week was the week that I figured out my biology of like how I'm going to do comps in the future, especially big week comps. I sort of like I got everything I need to do to like do the 21/3. like the food situation, the sleep schedule, like waking up, like being able to wake up and like do 1-to-1 instantly. I feel I got that locked in, so I'm really happy about that. But yeah, so we held on this pace up until I think it was day 4 was when we got the white flag from the trap house that they were dropping out. And so from there, we kept going a little bit, just get a very comfortable gap, just in case they were like bluffing or something. This is funny. This whole time, like in our team's Discord, we were saying like, oh, like it's a false flag, or like, oh, like they're just trying to like get us to go to bed, so they'll like go hard, which didn't end up happening. But yeah, really, really, really proud of myself and the rest of the goons. Um, this is like the first comp I've ever MVP'd, where I've actually been like the actual ranked one, which isn't much. I ended up doing a 112. Because I knew I was playing the next week as well, so I wanted to make sure I was rested up. But yeah, just a really great feeling to finally get a win. Just literally like 5 weeks in the fantasy, did not have a win. We were the only team that didn't have a win yet, so that felt good. And then just because of how there's only like 6 teams, but there are 8 weeks. 8 weeks were there. 8 weeks, 7 weeks, some amount of weeks, and so there were going to be a couple of rematches. So our rematch was again with the Trap House. Um, by this point, I got rested up from the previous week just because I was worried that they were gonna like put in some new people and try to go hard. Luckily, that did end up being the case. Um, so this was a pretty easy win. We gained the lead like really rough. Yeah, like lead pretty much instant, like very comfortable lead instantly. So from there, we sort of knew that it wasn't going to be one to worry about. So we sort of just kind of coasted the victory here. At least most of us did. Warlow decided to go. He went for a record this week. I don't remember what. If it'll actually pull me up to that week. Oh well. But yeah. Actually, no. I think from the comp page it will. Yeah. So I think he like Wilder just went nuclear again. Like second last pick on our team. Huge Slayer week. You know, awesome to see on his accounts. Yeah, like good on him for like. I think this was the last week that he was gonna be playing in fantasy, so he wanted to like just like pour everything he had into it. Which honestly, like good on him. Love to see a 130 when there's no need for a 130. But yeah, just like awesome performance. Fincher still going as well. Fincher was like competing with the like overall for like all of fantasy individuals. He was like honestly like matching Azula for a while, so like awesome to see there. And then Jizuzu, yeah, he kind of dropped out pretty early on. I mean, what's the point, when we have a very obvious lead? And so at this point, um, we had heard some rumors that the Fiends had given up in the comp, that they were just like done, but we weren't totally sure. So we did rest up for this week as well, and we did like a pretty like good intro 6. But yeah, the Fiends, I don't know what the whole story is there. I guess they sort of just kind of like fell apart with like how the team was being like the players they were putting in, and I don't know, just like whatever. So they ended up like and the Fiends we had already faced early on in the comp, and they had done a really good job against us. So we ended up taking the win from this one just because we ended up really just playing. That was like it's such an interesting thing about fantasy is that like there are so many teams that were so strong in the first couple weeks, but then they just kind of fell apart. Like they just I don't know, like the whole fantasy. And it's like one of the things I'm like most proud of about the Goons is that like even in these later weeks, like Discord was always active. Like we weren't in voice maybe as much because a lot of us were in like other Discords we wanted to be voiced in, but we were still like very friendly with each other. There was like no drama, no whatever, no bad apples in the team, and so yeah, it was just really good to see. But because the so like going into going into the actual like the playoffs. So we needed 3 wins to make it in, and we got them in the last 3 matches. So it's kind of funny, like Cinderella story. We went from 0-4 to making it into the playoffs. Um, and unfortunately, with the playoffs, it was just a scheduling thing. Like I was out of town. I think Deduzu was busy. Just like our goal was to make playoffs pretty much because we knew that like once we made the semis, we just didn't have the people to play. Um, which is whatever. We sort of knew that, and so we kind of like we sort of saw our achievement as making it into the playoffs. I think Faye Poppy won a bet with Levine that he's gonna get paid out like a billion GP, and he's gonna split that up. So like we got our cash prize, like we're happy. We don't have to play another week comp, just we're all sick of the week comps. So yeah, I mean, luckily we finally got Helpless Bob in, so he was finally back to play something, and he did a pretty good week of Fish Cook. Um, but yeah, just like you know, good on the shitloads. They're probably gonna end up winning this thing overall if they can beat the Butchers. I hope they beat the Butchers. Um, but yeah, just like awesome job to the Goons. Here's the actual like breakdown of all of us. I'm definitely not ranked as high as I was. I was like ranked 4 in the draft, but yeah, you gotta remember this is like overall. Actually, can I do average of weeks played? Is that what this does? Just I'm a little higher. What about best? Yeah, I'm still not that good. But yeah, I just like I don't know. Like we had a really good team. Like people shit on us because like they thought that we were gonna be pretty low ranked. But like I don't know. Like we had a good time. We played some good weeks. We won a couple. Maybe a few of them were because the other team just dropped out. But I think like our kind of crowning moment was this week 5 of like matching the trap house through like a really strong intro, and then like when we got the white flag from them. I don't know. I think that was like the highlight of fantasy right here. Um, like no, like me figuring out how to play a weak comp properly after playing a bunch already. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, just like overall, yeah, fantasy's been really good. Uh, now that we're out, there's like there's one more big matchup, and that's gonna be the finals between. I think it's gonna be the Butchers and the Shitlows. Yeah, the Butchers and the Shitlows. So I really hope the Shitlows win. They're like just like a really cool team. Um, yeah, I'm just like looking through here. Matchups maybe. Yeah, so it'll be the Butchers and the Shitlows. They go to the finals that start in 2 days, so that's coming up. I guess last point I'll say about this. This fantasy page is like it's under the community tab in Temple. You can look at all this yourself if you're interested. Again, yeah, here's the like individual top players. Fincher coming in at rank 4. I think he's only this low because we didn't play in the semis. So like you have like Rez and Necro, they also did really well. They're up there. Look at the breakdown by skill. Agility, I think a big cause of this was that Jaduzu and Azula were doing agility for most of this, as well as some other players. And yeah, I think that's really all to say about fantasy. Good time, and I know Autism says that he did not enjoy running it at all, which I don't blame him. It's a lot of work, but I really do hope that there's another fantasy next year. If I had to give like recommendations, I think I kind of agree with a lot of other people in saying that there did not need to be 8 matches. I think 6 matches where everybody plays each other once would have been fine, at least for the regular season. And then I don't know, like team size. I thought team size was pretty good. Maybe team size could be bigger, just so people have more options for like so many of these matches were won and lost just because like people didn't have the schedules to put in 5 players. So maybe a larger team size would make that better. I don't know. Um, it doesn't need to be 6 weeks in a row. I don't know. Like a break week in the middle. Just because there are some people that were doing 100s every single week on these teams, and I don't know. Maybe that's like part of the whole like thing with fantasy is that you have to balance and you have to account for that. But maybe like one week in between. like a break week. Been nice. And then yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert, so I don't really know what the best recommendations would be for making this a better comp or like a better system. But I think I like, there's that whole philosophy like make it exist, then make it better. I'm really glad that fantasy is like back in the minds of a lot of like high level skillers in like the modern day. Because I wasn't around for like the early era of fantasy and like the early era of competitive stealing. But I'm really glad this is back, and I know it's a lot of work for the organizers. And like, thank you, Utism, so much for putting up with all of us, and thank you to all the captains for also dealing with all of us. A special thank you to the DJ9 for captaining the Goons, best team, uh, best attitude. That's all there really is to say about that. So before I move on from fantasy, I forgot to go over my own like individual weeks that I played for. So I'll quickly go over those now. So this first one I think is week 1, and this was this was the first week. So I was doing woodcut and fire making because my original plan was that I was going to be ranging minotaurs, but unfortunately I didn't get the correct scaling into autism in time. And so, like, if I had been ranging Minotaurs, I would have been getting, like, zero point 0.6 because Minotaurs assumes you're killing Ogresses for the HP rate. And everyone got defaulted to their, like, game modes rate, not, like, the special rating that, people like Iron Man need. So, yeah. First week was doing Wicca Fire Mage. This just because, like, I had the Rune Axe on me. This was, like, the easiest one I could think of doing. And this is actually a really good week because I really got to explore the two-tick U method, which, I talked about it in one of my previous videos. It was discovered like earlier this year, maybe the end of last year. But I got a chance to like really do like a big week of it and test it out. So I got the rank 1 Iron Man fire making week out of this, which was pretty cool. I also got like a really high ranked woodcutting week, just because like the XP rates are like so similar between the two. There's not as much of a gap as there is with Willows. And then there's not too much here. I think a bit of XP from when I accidentally like killed a guard, rat, or something. Um, a good bit of runecrafting XP. This came from I had like, because I wasn't gonna be killing minotaurs. I already had some minotaur supplies, and I knew I could get 1-to-1 with runecrafting because I gave myself the like body runes with noted S rate. So I had like a good like 25 hours, 26 hours of that plus like some lamp XP that I did at the very start of the week, and then yeah, it was like fire making all. So maybe eventually I'll do like a full fire making all the way. Um, See if I can get some bigger numbers. But yeah, overall I think it was a pretty good starter week. It's funny, I was like, you might even see in my graph. Um, Change it to app. I just maybe not. Like the first few days, like the first day or so, I sort of slacked a bit. Mostly because like I was thinking that this comp was gonna be like, so it was like gonna be such a long time. Nobody was gonna go for like 140s in the intro week, but of course a bunch of people did. So I kind of had to like speed up the pace at the end of that. Um, so yeah, I think it was only like a 118 or something. It's 125 here. Just I think the scaling's a bit different for the crafting because I got this. I think this page. Oh yeah, let me actually go to the app. There we go. Yeah, 115. Yeah, only 17 hours of crafting. Much more sense. But yeah, pretty good week overall. And then here's the week 5. This is the week that we beat the trap house. This was like my that I was like very happy with. So for this one, it was a good bit of Minotaurs. So yeah, 109, 100, almost 110 hours of Minotaurs. I'm really proud of myself for that. A bit of lamping from the rune crafting got me almost 8 up from that. Hold on, that can't be right. Do I have mining XP on this week? Okay, I did do some rune crafting, I think, but yeah, for the most part, it was minotaurs. Um, so yeah, pretty proud of that. Yeah, the wood cutting from the canoes as well. Yeah, okay. But then yeah, decent bit of crafting as well. Overall, yeah, good week. I was really proud of it. So yeah, that's sort of the breakdown of skills at least. So fantasy's out of the way. Now what? Um, my goal is still 99 rune crafting, slowly but surely. So the range week that I did at Minotaurs sort of threw a wrench in the plan of doing one level at a time. So because I have all of these bone fragments now, I made it sort of a goal to just get this stack out of the way so I can go back to doing one level at a time. The problem though is that I have enough bone fragments for like 96, like a bit into 96 rune crafting, and I'm only at 93 now, so it's gonna take probably a couple months to get through this stack, which I don't have a problem with. This method is like super AFK now that I'm out of the bone fragment, or sorry, now I'm out of noted essence. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna be sort of chilling, doing some AFK body runes. So this does free up a decent amount of time for me, or a decent amount of like mental effort that I can spend on rune crafting or just RuneScape in general. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to be playing some all accounts during this grind, just because I don't think I can just full focus rune crafting when it's AFK. I mean, maybe I'll switch to some like Attitude Tick and Run Restore without the Noted Essence, but we'll see. What I'm doing right now is I'm taking advantage of this AFK to work on my Alcarid accounts. So I've shown this account off in a few videos before, but the one big long-term grind that I've been working on for a while is the 75 smithing grind to get the adamant scimitar, which is like the best in slot. So yeah, I think now like because they have, or just when crafting so AFK, it's a really good time to get this goal out of the way. So hopefully in the next like couple weeks I'll get that. After that though, I'm not quite sure what I'll do. I don't know if I want to play the Altarid account much. The 75 smithing is sort of like the end game goal for that account. I mean, just maxing or whatever it is, but I don't know. Maybe I'll kill some hill giants. We'll see. There's not too much like full AFK I can do on that account. Um, Most of the methods are pretty active, so we'll see. Maybe I'll go for like a 99 just to say I have one on that account. Um, but yeah, maybe I'll play some of my other alt accounts. Maybe I'll play a new one. I don't know. It's gonna depend on like how I'm feeling. I don't even know if like RuneScape will be like the other thing I do. Like maybe I'll focus more on like some IRL grinds, like job searching or some other game, or I don't know. We will see. But this kind of gets into the question of maxing and what the timeline looks like for that. So I've been thinking about how many hours it's going to take for me to finish up all the Minotaurs, do all the Essence, do the rest of this like AFK grind, and I don't have nearly like an exact date yet. It's going to be sometime next spring, like early next spring. Uh, I think if I keep the current pace I'm at now, it's probably going to be like April or late March. I'm sort of pushing myself to max before March 1st, but I don't know if I'm going to make that goal. Just because I have a lot of like travel and like IRL coming up. Like the fall is always like pretty bad for me because I always go back to my parents' house for Thanksgiving. I always hang out with like them for Christmas and New Year's and that like whole holiday period. And when I'm doing that, when I'm like back at my parents' house, I'm usually not playing RuneScape very much. Like I might get some mobile in, but usually I'm just I don't know busy doing whatever that I don't have like the mental to like keep pulling out like mobile and making sure that I'm rune crafting. I sort of noticed that on this like last trip I did back up to New York, just like over the past like 2 weeks or so when I was up there doing some hiking up in the Adirondacks. But yeah, I think the goal is try to get it before March 1st. I don't know if I'm gonna reach it, but I am gonna try. I'll try to push myself as best I can. And you never know, maybe there's gonna be some update that comes out for rune crafting before then that speeds things up. Um, I don't know though, to be honest. We'll see. But yeah, that's sort of the right now at least. That's sort of like the what I'm doing. I'm still gonna be streaming. It's gonna be boring, but you know, I'm not gonna like still hop. I don't think. At least not that's like doing anything besides runecrafting. Like I'll still hop eventually to Minotaurs again. But yeah, runecrafting is the focus. Like that's what I want to do. I want to max this account. I want to get this over with so I can get back to the fun skills like fishing, cooking. But yeah, that's sort of what's going on now and sort of what's going to be going on in the future. So I was thinking that I talked a lot about doing like hiking and stuff in the IRL, but I never really talked too much about like where I do that. So I figured I'd do a little show and tell about some of the hikes that I do and some of like the IRL goals that I have. So I'm from New York originally, as I've said in a lot of these videos. And New York is maybe not famous for, but New York is actually home to the largest state park anywhere in the US, at least anywhere in the lower 48. That being the Adirondack Park, which is like way upstate, pretty much like right on the border almost with Canada. And so within the Adirondacks, you have a mountain range called the Adirondack Mountains. Now, these are separate from the Appalachian Mountains. They're its own like funky little mountain range, like super old, part of the Canadian Shield, caused by some like magma uplift, like not like a normal like mountain building event like tectonic or anything. But yeah, so pretty much within the Adirondack Park, there's this high peak zone where there are 46 peaks that were at one point measured above 4,000 feet. They're called the Adirondack 46ers, and generally, it's something that like a lot of New Yorkers and other people who do like outdoorsy stuff in the Northeast are interested in, is climbing all 46 of these high peaks. So when I say that I'm like going back to New York to do some hiking, I'm almost always going back to climb one of these 46 peaks. So I'm actually a good way through it already. I've done 31 as of the recording of this video, which I'm pretty proud of. Um, and so, just to kind of like show it what everyone's about. So yeah, these are all the peaks, all of like the black marks here. There's a couple like general areas of the park, and just this whole area in general. So you have Lake Placid, um, which like this is like one of my favorite places on earth. It's this like kind of high altitude, at least for New York, a really big lake, but there's also this smaller mirror lake that's like right here. It's still town of Lake Placid. My parents actually own a rental property up here, so usually it's like rented throughout the year, so we have to make money on it. But a couple of times a year, we get to go up and stay here for a few nights to do some of these hikes. And then within the park, there's like several areas of like different sections of mountains. The most popular is the Eastern High Peaks Zone. This is where a lot of them are. You have like your Great Range here with Mount Marcy, which is the highest in New York State. You also have the McIntyre Range, a couple of mountains over here, a few dispersed in between. You have the Ditch Range, DIX, a couple of mountains in here, plus Giant and Rocky Peak Ridge kind of off to the side. There's also like a map, like in New York, of where this park is compared to like New York City down here. You have the Western High Peaks. I actually haven't done like any of these yet, so I don't know too much about them. And then you have your like Northern Peaks, which is like Whiteface Mountain. Which, if any of you are like skiers or like winter sports people, Whiteface has like the biggest ski resort in all of New York, pretty much, and like one of the biggest. It's like the one of the tallest ones in like all of the eastern U.S., which is pretty cool. But it's also a 46er. So, kind of talking about like some of the hikes that I've done this year. Um, I'll actually go through a few of them just to kind of show you like the scale of like some of the hiking. So, first one I did this year was a mountain called Mount Haystack. It's along this like Great Range. It's one of like the hardest to get to. It's like so deep in here. 4,900 feet, and you're starting off from what does this say? 1,600 feet. So yeah, like solid like you know 3,000 feet of elevation gain. This is a cool hike actually because this is one of the only areas in the park that there's one of those like overnight lodges you can stay at. So it's called the Johnsburg Lodge. It's like somewhere. Oh, yeah, here it is, Johnsburg Lodge. So I did this hike with my mom. we hiked in the night before, and this is like a solid like it's like 3 miles something to get in, just to get in. Yeah, about 3 miles. So we hiked in overnight on like a Friday night, spent the night here, and then the next morning we woke up, hiked the rest of the way, climbed the mountain. Actually, I can't do the 3D view play IRL. But yeah, so this was like a super big day. Like waking up at like 7 a.m. from here, summiting at like noon, and then like this whole like the whole hike's like what 16 miles? Yeah, so like 5 miles from here, and then 8 miles all the way back to the car the next day. That was a tough one. Then when I was just back in New York, I did two different hikes. I did this one hike called Mount Sawteeth. This is pretty cool. Uh, this kind of starts off with this like old forest road. Well, first of all, yeah, this place called the Osceola Club, which kind of some like rich assholes that own a lot of this area. But yeah, you have to like reserve parking. They're like one little parking lot. You have to walk up like they're pretty much like the road to the hotel. You have to walk up. There's no parking lot up at the main gate, and then there's this like really long forest road, which it's not a forest road anymore. It's just like logging's not allowed. But the Sauce Club, they have their own like private little like lake house over here, and so this is just like a really long road walk you have to do, which it's like 3 miles. I think I did in like an hour, and then you get into the actual like mountainous part. And I'll tell you what, like you can kind of see like just from like the topography of doing this one hike. I went up this they call it the scenic route loop, and this like incline here kicked my ass. Luckily there was like a ton of outlooks to see, and a lot of like really like pretty views of the lake and like the Colvin Range over here. But yeah, like bitch to get up. But luckily, kind of a shorter day. I think it's only 13 miles in total. Um, Not bad. I did this one on my own, which is nice. Able to get back to the car nice and early. And then the most recent one I did, which I did with my mom and one of my actual high school friends, who's living back in New York now, and he likes to do a lot of hiking. And this was a day, 18 miles, like spanning like a good chunk of the park. You have to park all the way up here at the Adirondack Lodge, and then like deep hike all the way in. A little place called Marcy Dam. It's this old dam that like the loggers used to use. Um, but then yeah, like had to hike up and around Mount Colden to the Lake Arnold Pass. Like already here, you're at like 3,800 feet, which is like almost a high peak. And then yeah, like hike down to this bowl. This is actually a super beautiful area in here, the Feldspar Brook, Feldspar Bog. I have no idea what it's called that. And then like keep hiking in, go around some of the biggest peaks in the park, and then like this super beautiful hike that we did up to Mount Redfield, and then a shorter but like pretty steep mountain called Mount Cliff, which it deserves this name because it is just like cliffs that you were climbing in this area, um, with a false summit, which sucks. So you have to like go down that and then up to the real one. Yeah, this is a long, long day. Like we were at the parking lot, um, like 6 a.m. I think we actually like got out of the car, started hiking. Didn't summit the first mountain until noon. Didn't summit the second one until like 1 p.m. And then we weren't back to the car until 8 p.m. that night. So that was like a 14-hour day. That sort of sucks. Just like walking all day. And this air, oh my god, this decline coming off the Lake Arnold Pass back to the Adirondack, or sorry, back to the Marcy Dam. This is just like technical, like rocky. Like you have to watch every single step you make, or you're gonna like, fall and hurt yourself. Yeah, long day, but I don't know. Kind of just a little like cool show and tell. Um, like it's something I really like doing. I want to become a 46er at one point and like climb all these mountains. So, over the couple of years, I'm gonna be doing that. If you're interested in the ones that I've done so far, like all like these, pretty much all the Great Range I've done besides one, or sorry, not the Great Range, the Ditch Range I've done. I haven't done Huff yet because it's kind of like deep in there. Also, I haven't done Blake and Colvin, which like they're two of the shortest ones. But yeah, like pretty much whole Great Range. Since I did Sawtooth this last time. Um, Everything except Marcy, I still have to do that. But yeah, pretty much all the other ones in the eastern peaks I've done now that I've done Cliff and Redfield. which they are here. Marshall I haven't done yet, so that's also sort of deep in, and you kind of do that one from climb from like the south. Like there's a parking lot here, like Henderson. You kind of come in that way. That's also how you do the Sansanoni range. Haven't done these yet. You hike from Ampersand Lake to do the Seaward Mountains, which is like 4 of them out in the middle of nowhere. This is probably gonna be an overnight. So there's a campsite down in this valley that you do. You hike like one, and then you hike in like different days. And then eventually I have to do Whiteface and Esther, which this is like a whole interesting story too, because there's a road to get up to the top of Whiteface Mountain, and it's like a really scenic thing to do if you're ever in like this part of New York. So a lot of people are up there, but it's kind of annoying if you're like a hiker who goes all the way up there because you're just like hiking past like day trip people, which is I don't know. It's not like super fun when you have to deal with a lot of people like that. So I'm trying to organize this hike to where like the road up to the top is closed, which it closes in like early October, but hike it before there's snow. At least enough snow that the ski resort part of it is open. So it's like a very narrow window in the late fall that I have to do this. Maybe like a Thanksgiving if I'm up here. And when you do Whiteface, like Esther's like right there, so you just climb both of them. But yeah, a little show and tell about some of the IRL stuff. If anyone's ever interested in like hiking or any like hiking advice or backpacking, um, I'm happy to share some of the experience that I have, especially if you want to do it up in New York, because it's kind of a hidden gem. Most people who even like live in New York don't know about this park, but like some of the most beautiful scenery that you'll find, it's up in the high peaks, at least in my opinion. And so one last thing before I end off the video, I want to give a quick heads up about an upcoming competition that World 385 plans to host. This is going to be the free-to-play Fall Fest. This is going to be like a very chiller, you know, open sign-ups for all free-to-players, no badge. We're not even going to have like proper scaling because we're not like an official clan, so we have to like pay to get scaling and we're free-to-play, so yeah, it's gonna be like a just nice, chill, easy. Obviously people can still put up big numbers, but yeah, this is really like I don't know, like I feel like there's been a lot of like bad rep with like comps, especially after fantasy and just like all the bullshit. So this will be like a nice way. Like I want like a lot of free to players to kind of get introduced to the whole competition scene, and at least just like go for like some like personal records. Like that's what I want the emphasis to be on. Just like choose a record you want to go for, and just like do your best. Like do a PR, like introduce yourself to like playing all day, or I don't know, just having an excuse to push the account more than you would otherwise. So I literally just threw the announcement up for this earlier today in the 385 Discord. I have like 2 polls active in there, just trying to figure out like what dates and like what like format works best for people. But when signups eventually are open for that, maybe like next week, I'll throw out an announcement for people to be aware of. But yeah, just kind of something to shout out. This is gonna be like kind of the first comp that I'm organizing myself, since I'm really the only like active 3-5 admin these days. So figured it'd be like a cool way to you know do something. On the topic of rewards, 385, like when we used to have more comps back in the day, our reward was always like a custom a title or like icon in the clan chat in game. So we'll probably do that again. Maybe I'll talk to the other like free to play clan leaders, see if they're interested in something like that. Just so, it's nice for people to have an award. And when so many people are free to players, or when so many people are Iron Men, the like GP reward doesn't really make a lot of sense. And if there's not going to be a badge, then I don't know. People still like to have a reason to like go for rank 1 or like the winning team. That's another thing too. It's gonna be a small team style. That's what we're thinking. Anyway, yeah, more info in the Discord. Feel free to give that a look. Otherwise, yeah, this is probably gonna be my last video of 2025. Next video will probably be in January for the 2025 recap. Maybe a video in December. I know it's like 3 months away. It's like the usual cadence of these videos. But anyway, yeah, that's really all I got for now. Thanks for watching, y'all, and I will see you in the next one. Feel free to catch me on my Twitch, or just hit me up on Discord if you ever have any questions about the game. Otherwise, yeah, peace, everyone. Then there's this guy, asked Brandon, little 99 woodcut, 99 fire make party as I'm compiling the video, so you're getting tossed in here at the end. GZ, dude.